Hello everyone, this is part 28 of What If Naruto Had a Hug That Changed Everything, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Wake up you insect, a torn and tattered Kyuubi bellowed before reeling his fist back and slamming it into the sleeping Gaara's face. Standing on Ichibi's head, the blonde kitsune awaited Gaara's awakening and seemed to get the results he was looking for when he noticed his fellow demon begin to tremble. After a few more seconds, Ichibi let out a howling complaint. "AAAWWW, what the F? I was just released, you know," the sand spirit yelled before his pupils went dim. Immediately snapping all of his attention to Gaara, Kyuubi saw that he had indeed been awakened. Hyperventilating, Gaara glared daggers at Kyuubi with his undying intent to K him off once and for all. "You ugly little S. You've caused me a lot of problems today, but now I'm gonna end it," he declared. "Not before you S," Gaara growled as he summoned streams of sand to steadily shower upon Kyuubi's legs. Normally, the demon would have little to no trouble at all escaping this otherwise pitiful assault, but the fact that Gaara was using Ichibi's sand to hold him in place made it especially difficult to so. On top of that, "What the?" Naruto exclaimed as he struggled to hold Ichibi's vacant form in place. "NGH. He's still pushing me back. Looks like this old shell's still got some fight left in him. Kyuubi, finish him off." "What do you think I'm trying to do?" Kyuubi hollered back as he struggled against the sand creeping around his legs. "All right, you loathsome rat. Damn it. I think I may have used too much of this body's stamina." The angered fox launched forward a little bit with a sudden burst of energy, tearing away from some of the sand as he did so. Surprising Gaara, Kyuubi rose to his feet again and stood above the young Jinchuriki. "I'm gonna slap some sense into you," the demon roared before acting out on that very promise by viciously and mercilessly slapping both sides of Gaara's face at a constant rate with one hand. "Ya like that, huh? Ya like that? Take ITB. Quit essing around Kyuubi, Naruto shouted as his strength was seriously waning on him. "I don't know how much longer I can hold him." Without really responding, Kyuubi quickly reeled his hand back to gain at least one last slap before putting this struggle to an end, but Gaara had other plans. In a flash of anger, the Suna Genin launched his sand to shackle both of Kyuubi's wrists. "Enor!" Gaara roared with fury before quickly summoning more of his sand around his enemy's en and body. "You've vexed me for the last time." Growing ever so weary of this battle, Kyuubi summoned even more of his strength as he forced his arms forward, reaching for Gaara's face. With several grunts and curses, the blonde demon slowly but surely managed to reach both of his hands to his enemy's face, causing his eye to widen with disbelief. "This can't be. Who are you?" Gaara questioned with a notable hint of fear in his voice. Still struggling against the sand, Kyuubi made several ungraceful attempts to reel his head back. "I already told you, pup. I am Kyuubi no Kitsune, king of the Bayou. Now shut the F. Woo up," he howled before ferociously ramming his forehead onto Gaara's, sending a forceful shockwave rippling through the air. A moment of silence ensued. A beaten and battered Naruto could almost immediately feel the shell of Ichibi weaken entirely. He wondered if his unlikely comrade had finally did it. His hopes were realized when he noticed the empty shell begin to break down into grains of harmless sand. A great sensation of relief washed over him as he watched the once malevolent Ichibi no Shukaku fall by the wayside. However, he also noticed his former cubified body and a barely conscious Gaara falling upside down face to face. "Kuso. It looks like Kyuubi is wiser at using his own powers than I was. I've already reached my limit," Naruto thought as his ocean blue eyes trailed Kyuubi's descending form before shifting him a little to the left where he barely saw something that made him very sad. "Gomenase. Sakura-chan. Sasuke." With his final thoughts, Naruto was suddenly engulfed by a burst of smoke that quickly dissipated, and he vanished from sight once again. Why does this demon aid him in such a way, to such an extent? Gaara asked himself as he constantly drifted in and out of consciousness, free-falling with a close-eyed Kyuubi before him. "But I saw him." Naruto Uzumaki, as a demon himself. Even after death, he continues to fight, for the ones he loves. It was during his thoughts that Kyuubi's blazing red eyes shot wide open with a crazed and overly determined look on his face, startling Gaara. "I'm not finished yet, you little fool," he stated before latching one of his hands onto Gaara's sash before viciously pummeling him into nothing. The face, the chest, the arms, the legs, pretty much anywhere you could see on the body was not spared from Kyuubi's wrath. Before long, the demon landed upon the overbrush of a tree with Gaara in hand, hanging him over the edge by his sash. With his now weakened and defeated state of mind, Gaara stared hopelessly into Kyuubi's unforgiving eyes. Why are you going so far? What is your purpose? He asked in an almost pleading manner. Through Kyuubi's weary state he gave one simple answer, through a debt of honor. "I made a promise," he said before taking it on home with a mind-blowing sock to the face, sending Gaara flying into the ground and tumbling about. Ironically, the moment that the beaten Jinchuriki had stopped, Kyuubi lost all feeling in his legs and fell off of the tree, colliding with the earth face first. Now lying on his back, Gaara used with little strength he had left to turn his head towards Kyuubi's direction, staring at his blankly. A promise. Finding the difficulty to stand up very aggravating, the tired demon cursed at how rotten things had become. He longed for his full power to return to him, but alas, he was stuck with what he had. Even if he were to recover in his current state, he would still only obtain half of his natural power. What pissed him off the most was that ever since Naruto peeled off half of the seal, half of his powers were stripped clean from his being. Once Naruto was summoned as the Kyuubi himself, he learned why that had happened, but for the moment he would let the gears turn at another time. He had a solemn vow to keep. What's this? I can feel some of my energy returning to me. Perhaps, things haven't completely changed after all, Kyuubi thought to himself before spontaneously regaining enough strength to stagger to his feet. Though Gaara was staring straight at him, he was still completely blanked out with several self-reflecting thoughts. That is of course until a loud footstep was heard in the distance. Snapping out of his trance, the red-haired Sandwilder was genuinely surprised to see his opponent standing. But, when he noticed that he was taking the direct path toward him, he suddenly became afraid. Very afraid. What? No. Stay away from me, you monster, he demanded with widened eyes. His words fell on deaf ear however. Kyuubi continued his silent march, unleashing his naturally given waves of pure intent and frightening Gaara all the more. What's wrong, pup? You're afraid, aren't you? Good, then maybe this will be fun after all, Kyuubi joked despite his almost pathetic state. Two birds with one stone. Destroy this brat and fulfill a promise. Simple and effective. What promise? What promise is so important, that a demon would be so compelled to see it through? Gaara questioned with more confusion than ever. Kyuubi stumbled a bit as he was still very weak from his struggle. Naruto. Uzumaki. Because of his I face you today. I have been spared because of a young warrior's honor, and for that I'm fulfilling a request made by him. On this day, I shall protect the ones he loves, from the one who threatens them, and to do that, I have defeated you, and I will kill you here and now, he said with unchallenged conviction. Gaara could almost not even believe his ears. Impossible. You're a demon. How can you be so hell-bent on fulfilling such a meaningless promise to a lesser being? He questioned. You little fool. I may be a demon out for blood, but I am an honorable demon, who just so happens to be out for blood, Kyuubi stated with a weak smile. With that, the demon on the prowl continued his staggering march toward Gaara, who was suddenly no longer staring at him, but the sky instead, pondering. Love. Is that why he's so strong? Is that why even after an untimely death, he still fights and triumphs? He thought to himself as he remembered how Kyuubi mentioned that if not for him, he wouldn't have even been there. Suddenly Gaara realized that everything that had transpired up to this point was not the Yuko's doing, but Naruto's alone. To protect the ones that he. That's why he's so much stronger. Still struggling to make it to his prey, Kyuubi's thoughts roamed about his mind, contemplating the future. His new place in history, and the new path that he would wove for himself. It was magnificent. He could already taste the fruits of freedom and it was sweet. However, along this feeling came a certain sense of emptiness. It would be as much of a mystery to anyone else as much as it was to him, but his mind roamed back to a certain blonde knucklehead. With Naruto on the brain now, Kyuubi almost laughed at how fate has an unbreakable habit of kicking you in the balls with steel toes. The child had demonstrated a great sense of honor and genuinity that were way beyond his years, and although he would never admit it out loud, Naruto had earned a great deal of the demon's respect that day, not only for his but for his sense of honor. Well, the boy is still alive but, inside me, as me. Wow, what a thing concept, Kyuubi inwardly commented as he continued his path to finish Gaara. Sasuke team and Sakura B had better be grateful for this. Conveniently enough, Kyuubi was shaken out of his thoughts by the voice of one of the very two people he mentioned. Kyuubi, right, a young boy's voice sound from the demon's side. Not even looking at him, Kyuubi stopped. What is it that you want, Uchiha? He snarked. At first, Sasuke hesitated but steeled himself and spoke up. You don't have to do this, he said, catching Kyuubi's attention. And just what are you implying, boy? That I should just walk off and let this piece of S live? Do you honestly want to take that chance? Kyuubi questioned. Though Sasuke was silent in his response, Kyuubi could tell that he was saying, yes. You don't have to fight anymore. We can take care of ourselves, Sasuke continued. Oh, is that how it is? The demon unexpectedly snapped out. So even after a noble S of this magnitude, you would refuse him? Huffs, in all actuality I have no idea what Naruto even saw in you idiots. No. Sakura jumped in, that's not how it is at all. It just that, there's no reason to fight anymore. The day is won. Kyuubi scoffed, oh really? Well, I'd have to say that if this boy comes after you idiots again, then it's on your heads. So don't be like, oh we should have begged and pleaded for the great, wise and powerful Kyuubi to stay with us, because I would laugh, and laugh, he said. Both were silent. With nothing else to be gained or said, Kyuubi straightened his posture and closed his eyes to fully recompose himself. Once finished, he sighed. Well whatever. If you guys are finally finished being a bothersome hindrance, then I'm going out to see the world again. I've seen enough of Hai no Kuni for at least another millennium, Kyuubi said before turning around to walk away. Though he was mildly surprised that he was free of any resistance, Kyuubi paid it no mind. He just walked away and looked forward to a future full of grand potential, and he had his former container to thank for it. Of course, things weren't looking so bright for Sasuke and Sakura at that time. They had just lost a comrade and a friend, and the only means of ever seeing even a trace of him again was walking away. For Sakura, it was the most excruciating. She could feel her heart tearing out of her chest cavity as she watched the body that once belonged to her beloved walk away from them. For all she knew, she would never be able to see any trace of Naruto ever again, and that thought was enough to once again send tears cascading down her face. Shanaro, what the hell do you think you're doing? Go after him, Ina Sakura blurted out, I don't care what you have to do, don't let Kyuubi leave. He may be the only means of bringing Naruto back. Go after him. Normally, Sakura wouldn't be so willing to comply with her inner persona's demands, but the thought of losing our favorite ninja without ever having the chance to make up for what she had done, was absolutely deathly. So she ran after the demon much to her teammates' surprise. Sakura, what are you? Sasuke almost said before he was cut off by another shock to his system. What the black-clad Uchiha saw then and there, would make it to the top 10 list of things that surprised him today. Even Pakken had to admit that the girl had lots of guts. First she actually slapped the greatest of the Bayu in the face, and now this. Out of all of them though, Kyuubi suffered the greatest shock. His eyes were almost petrified out of their sockets when he felt what he felt, and because of his superb sense of smell, he was easily able to tell who was responsible. Oh hell no. This B is not. Hugging me, Kyuubi inwardly roared. Yep, that's right. Sakura Haruno locked Kyuubi into a strong embrace, squeezing her arms around his and lightly sobbing into his back. It was bad enough the malevolent spirit had grown tired of Sakura's tears and sobs to begin with, but now that she was actually holding onto him, he felt as though a line was just crossed, and when you do something that's stupid with the Kyuubi, terrible things happen. Okay, B. I'll give you exactly 60 seconds to explain your unforgivable actions, before I off your arms, and bash your brains out with them, the angered demon bellowed. Please. Sakura whispered as a response, Kyuubi. Please bring him back. Though Kyuubi was silent he was counting down. Sakura tightened her embrace, making the demon all the madder. I beg you. Please tell me that there's a way to bring my Naruto back to me, she continued to plead. Kyuubi retained his silence. Answer me. Please tell me that I can still see him, that I can still hear him, that I can still touch him. Please. Again, silence. Sakura tightened her embrace. Kyuubi. All I ask is to see my Naruto again. I never took the chance to tell him how much he means to me. You have 30 seconds, Kyuubi warned. Hearing those spiteful and heartlessly merciless words, Sakura's sobs became stronger and more vibrant. God, why do you hate me? What have I done, sob, to make you hate me so much? All I want to do is to do what? To hold him. Why yes, to please him. Yes. Well, you're too late. You had your chance and you blew it all because of your stubborn cowardice. Kyuubi barked, now let go of me. Sakura could do all but comply with that demand, so she tightened her embrace. No, Kyuubi. I know that there's a way for Naruto to come back. Please, even if it's just for 1 minute, I'd be more than happy just to see him again, she cried harder. Your time's running out, Kyuubi warned with darkened eyes. I love him so much. I can't stand the thought of losing him before we ever had a chance together. Bring Naruto back. I'd do anything just to see him one last time if that's what it took. Juu. Sakura was speechless. Even after spilling her guts to him, Kyuubi maintained his stern demeanor, and was being a heartless jackass to top it off. However, Sakura found it rather impossible to get angry because all this meant was that she would never see Naruto ever again. So she cried even harder. In fact, her sobs became so strong that they rivaled those that she lamented during her childhood, but she couldn't help it. The thought of Naruto fading from her life was truly too much to bear. To never hear his voice. To never see his wonderful smile that gave meaning to the day. The pink-haired kunoichi was truly lost, and the only thing she could do now was cry. Why, Kyuubi, I've done nothing to you, Sakura whined as she continued to lament. Hachi, Nana, Roku. Now the situation seemed entirely hopeless, and seeing the Kyuubi in action before only validated the possibility of acting out on his threat. After all, he did fulfill his aforementioned promise, protecting Naruto's precious people from Gaara. No one ever said anything about finishing the job himself. Despite the grisly possibilities, Sakura's grip remained strong, much to Blonde Demon's anger. Go, Yon. Kyuubi, you can't do this to me, not without telling me that there is a way. This is the first and last thing that I'd ever ask of. San. But you. Ni. Of course, you can't do this. Not if what you said was true. Quote. Ichi. With the time expired, Kyuubi flung his arms outward, thus easily breaking Sakura's hold around him. In one foul swoop, the vicious demon whirled around and snatched Sakura by the collar before slamming her up against a tree. With a grunt of pain, the frightened and heavily saddened female stared into the eyes of the beast, blazing crimson meeting sorrowful emerald. Sakura, Sasuke yelled before prepping himself to defend her. Before he could do this, however, Pakken stepped in front of him. What are doing? I have to help. Trust me, kid, it'll be the last thing you ever do. Just trust Sakura's judgment for now, the little brown canine said. Now then, since you didn't give me a legitimate answer as to why you suddenly grew the cojones to hug me, I'm going to slowly tear your arms off and, well, you know, Kyuubi said with a sickening smile before lifting one of his arms to grasp Sakura's. But, what was said after that, would change things. But you said that you an honorable demon, she yelled. This, of course, stopped Kyuubi where he stood. His arm was only mere inches from hers. A part of him questioned why he had stopped, but the more dominant part of him knew the answer to that. Normally this wouldn't even faze him, but then he remembered that Sakura Haruno was Naruto's most precious hunk of meat. If you are what you say you are, then you'll allow one last favor. Not for my sake, but for Naruto's. Kyuubi was silent, while at the same time stunned and pissed off. He allowed you to even be here, right? If that's true, then repay your debt and let him see me one last time, Kyuubi, Sakura demanded while inwardly begging and pleading that Kyuubi would comply. I don't believe it. The bee caught me in my own complex. She caught me. In my own complex, the demon inwardly cursed. Haruno. Can this boy truly mean that much to you? Sakura's tears fell more forcefully. It's not that. He means more to me than you know, she cried. The last thing that Sakura realized was a mocking scoff from Kyubi before her vision became distorted and blurred. It was a very strange feeling. It was as though her mind had been sped clean from her skull and thrown into the void of oblivion. Her body suddenly lost all manner of feeling within it and her eyes dimmed out. Out of. The next thing she knew, she was surrounded by darkness. Although her senses were quite jarred, Sakura had deduced that she was in a sewer-like area. The scent that assaulted her senses was almost intolerable, but at the same time, it was very familiar, but her bearings were still shot so she couldn't tell. Where am I? After standing in the same spot for a little while, Sakura's first instinct was to explore the strange place. The area was vast despite the narrow pathways only because of the multiple paths that could have been taken. The weird thing was that it seemed as though she knew where she was going, she just went where her heart told her to go. Upon weaving throughout to sewer of darkness, the pink-haired female was able to properly adjust her senses. Doing so, her hearing was better and she could detect an indistinctive noise. Despite her confusing situation, Sakura pursued the noise out of curiosity. She really didn't understand why she was proceeding further into the chamber, but she did anyway. Upon further travel, the lost kunoichi could almost perfectly make the sound out as snoring. It was light, smooth and rhythmic. Weaving in and out of the tunnels and whatnot, Sakura had finally came across the cage. It was enormous. She could just gawk at the monumental size of it as she stared at it. Of course, this didn't really last that long, seeing as how this was the source of the snoring. Now there were a lot of things that Sakura expected to see, mainly because of the fact that she had just witnessed a horrible death of the last person who deserved it. But what she saw right before her eyes was far more than what she was expecting. With widened eyes, Sakura let out a delayed and desperate gasp. In front of the jade-eyed genin was a sleeping and formerly orange-clothed shinobi known as Naruto Uzumaki. The gasp that she had previously released was enough to stir the slumbering boy before he slowly awoke. Seeing the waking boy more clearly, Sakura almost started to deny what her optical receptors were receiving, but it looked so real. She slowly approached the blonde with widened eyes. Is it really you, Naruto? She asked herself. The black-clad nin rose to a sitting position and groaned while rubbing his eyes. The first thing that he saw was the attention-grabbing color of pink, and of course, that casued him to sat the first things that came to his mind. Sakura-chan, he mumbled, still in a sleepy stupor before sighing, I must be dreaming. Still walking up TP the dazed Naruto, Sakura finally noticed that he was actually on the opposite side of the bars that made the cage, meaning that he was trapped within. But somehow, none of that seemed to even matter. The pink high-aired kunoichi's heart rate rose dramatically as she drew ever closer to her beloved. The sight was magnificent, she could already feel his skin against her own. Naruto, she said before stopping right in front of the sleepy boy. Oh Naruto. Feeling a great weakness in her body, Sakura crashed to her knees as she stared hard into Naruto's eyes, making certain he was real. From any viewpoint, it looked as though Naruto was about to say something but was immediately cut off when a soft hand quickly reached through the cage's bars to touch his face. The contact of their skin was enough to send shivers down both of their spines, signifying that what was happening was as real as it could get. You're really here. This is real. The blonde impulsively rose his hand up and gently placed it upon Sakura's, feeling the warm skin wake him from his drowsy state. His eyes slightly widened when he remembered the current predicament and saw Sakura right in front of him. Sakura-chan, you're okay. No. Don't talk, Naruto. Let me feel it. Let me feel your breath. Sakura slowly ran her hand over the blonde boy's mouth and lavished in the feeling of his warm breath against it, causing her to smile with great happiness. The feeling of the overwhelming joy that kept into her was so great that she began to shed tears. Oh no, please don't cry. I'm sorry Sakura-chan, I didn't mean to make you upset. Sakura's teary eyes widened with sheer disbelief at what she was hearing. I just wanted to be there for you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Hearing those words sent a ping through Sakura's heart. Not only had she been touched by Naruto's selfless attitude, but those were the exact same words that he mumbled in his sleep when he slept at the clinic after his fight with Neji. The female genin's eyes squinted a little before choking back a sob and further caressing Naruto's face and hair with both hands this time. No. No, Naruto. You have nothing to apologize for. You've done me no injustice. Then why are you crying? At first, Sakura was silent as she gazed into Naruto's bottomless blue orbs. Because I was such an idiot. I'm crying because I realize how much of a selfish bee I was. I'm crying because I was so caught up in my meaningless crush that I never saw how much pain I'd caused you. I'm crying because I finally realize how much you mean to me, Naruto. Naruto continued to caress the soft hand touching his face. Sakura-chan. Sakura's eyes shut tightly as she continued. Naruto, I love you. The blonde's heart skipped a beat when he had heard those words escape Sakura's mouth and was almost inclined to deny the fact that he had heard any of it. What did you say? Finally feeling as though the weight of the worlds had been hoisted off of her shoulders, Sakura smiled blissfully with her tears still pouring down her face, whispering sobs of joy. I love you, Naruto. I love you so much. Why you love me? Really, you do, Sakura-chan. As a response, Sakura strengthened her grip around Naruto's face and yanked him into a sudden lip lock that shook everything that he was in one foul swoop. This kiss was still and quiet, but although neither of them moved, it was as magical as the first two that they shared. Naruto was happy enough, but Sakura was in heaven. After all that she had denied, after all of that she had thrown away long ago, she was finally able to seek redemption and fully embrace the roaring flames that reignited for Naruto. After a long and terrible bout of hopeless angst and an unbearable tragedy, Sakura finally understood what it truly meant to love another, and she loved Naruto Uzumaki. After the session of pure bliss, the pink-haired female pulled away from her love and stared into his eyes once again. My God, Naruto. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I said all of those horrible things to you. I'm so sorry that I never acknowledged you for how wonderful you truly are. Do you still love me, Naruto? In immediate response, Naruto smiled before he did something that he hadn't done since their childhood. He took Sakura by the cheek and kissed her forehead with warmth and passion. Once again, Sakura's eyes widened at this. It was almost the exact same reaction that she had when it happened the first time. When he pulled away, they both laid their foreheads to one another and stared deeply into each other's eyes. Of course I still love you, Sakura-chan. Unbeknownst to any of the two, the great Yuko, Kyuubi had been carefully watching them the entire time, perfectly concealed within the darkness behind them both. He wasn't really sure what came over him that day. First, he protected a loathsome bee like Sakura, then he granted her access to the cage. Now he was reaching a clawed finger to the half-peeled seal on the damn thing as he continued to watch Naruto and Sakura. Alright, Kit. Don't say I never did anything for you. Out of. That's enough. I'm done, the utterly defeated Gaara mumbled. His two siblings, Kankuro and Temari, had arrived shortly before, ready to finish the Uchiha, who stood firm and ready to defend. But the red-haired Jinchuriki was truly finished. Enough was too much. Gaara, they both mumbled back. The only recence was a totally zoned-out Gaara staring into that sun, love. Who knows, Naruto Uzumaki. Maybe someday. He thought to himself. I never seen him like this, Temari thought before she and her puppet-wielding brother took the younger sibling by either arm and gave their former opponents one final look. Sure, they all wondered why Sakura was pinned against a tree, but they shook it off and moved out. Temari. Kankuro. I'm sorry, Gaara mumbled again. Those words brought on a shock to both of the Sand Nin's systems as they hopped through the tree on a course back home. Quote. Don't worry about it, Kankuro said. Meanwhile, as the time progressed during Kuro's mass meditation upon the summit of the enormous mountain, the surrounding became more and more foreboding. The clouds were now as black as the night and swirled not only within the sky, but around the mountain itself. Slowly but surely, his powers were growing. The storm that was well on its way had finally reached that area and was negatively affected by the rise in evil power, causing random bolts of lightning to ravage the skies above. Nekoshi and Kitsune sat back and patiently watched their sensei. Soon. Very soon, Kitsune said as she sat on the ground next to Nekoshi. Nekoshi himself was far too enchanted by the darkened scene. The horizon had been caked with a blood-red color while the clouds themselves gave off the stench of death. Sigh. Just like old times, eh? Suddenly, Kuro snapped out of his meditation and shot to his feet with an alarming look on his face. Seeing this, his faithful students rose to their feet as well, curious as to what brought on this reaction. But suddenly, they felt something rather odd, and before long, they both knew what had finally happened. HMHMHM. HMMHMH. Hey he 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 hey. Finally, it happened he 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 hey. Sensei, are you? FRUAAAAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAH. It happened. It finally happened. MWWAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHHAHAHAHThat will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.